In physics, a particle is an object with a specific mass and location in space. Think cannonballs and baseballs, specks of dust and atoms. A wave, on the other hand, is an oscillation of energy through space. Think of sunlight or a radio wave, or your microwave oven. In traditional physics, these two things are mutually exclusive. That is to say, something is either one or the other. If it's a particle, by its very nature, it can't be a wave, and vice versa. But as scientists began experimenting with smaller and smaller particles, they made a mysterious discovery. At its most basic level, matter exhibits the characteristics of both a wave and a particle at the same time. In experiments with electrons, for instance, sometimes these particles would exhibit the properties of a wave, and other times the properties of a particle, depending on the method of observation. The term wave-particle duality describes this conundrum, that the most basic particles of matter have the nature of a wave and the nature of a particle at the same time. Albert Einstein put it like this: "We have two contradictory pictures of reality. Separately, neither the wave theory nor the particle theory fully explains the phenomena, but together they do." The concept of wave-particle duality is a helpful analogy for talking about the incarnation. What happened, that is, when God became flesh in the person of Jesus Christ. Christians have always maintained that in Jesus, two distinct and different natures, our human nature and God's divine nature, came together in one person. Traditionally, theologians have used the term hypostatic union to describe this conundrum. Hypostasis is a Greek word that means existence or substance, and the hypostatic union refers to the idea that two natures, the human and the divine, were united together in one individual existence. But how should we understand this? Was Jesus some sort of half-God, half-human hybrid? Was he only sometimes God and other times human? Did the coming together of the human and divine natures create some new third nature that had never existed before? None of these suggestions will work, but then what will? And this is where the analogy of the wave-particle duality comes in handy. Because just like in physics, two incompatible natures, the wave and the particle, coexist inseparably and without contradiction in a single entity, so too with Jesus Christ. In him, the divine nature and the human nature were always fully present in the same person. Every activity of the human Jesus was also, at the same time, an action of God, and anything that God did in, through, and as Jesus Christ was something that the human being, Jesus of Nazareth, did. To modify what Albert Einstein said about the wave-particle duality, neither the human nature nor his divine nature separately explains the phenomenon of Jesus Christ, but together they do. Well, this is difficult to grasp, how Jesus could be both God and human at the same time, but the ancient theologians continually stressed it as something essential to our relationship with God. One theologian said, "What has not been assumed has not been redeemed," and what he meant was, humans could only be fully redeemed if God had taken our full human nature onto himself. Another theologian said, "He became like us so that we might become like him," and what he meant was, Jesus shared fully in our humanity so that we could share in his life with God. In the book of John, it says it like this: "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God, and the Word became flesh and dwelt among us."